Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another retro RPG. The end of another week, the end of another poll. We've got an absolutely dominating win for RuneQuest 3rd edition. Was way out ahead all through this poll. Definitely the clear leader. Now this is going to be a PDF review, so we're going over to the computer desktop in a wee second. And first of all, I'd like to apologise for the quality of the sound. For some reason, the sensitivity of my microphone between me recording last week and this week has massively amped up. Usually in the edit, I have to increase the volume of the video by 3 to 5 times to make it match up with these sections. This week, the video is absolutely maxed out. The sound is so sensitive, the only way I could get a usable version was by taking the microphone and putting it quite a distance away from me. But that means it picks up all the background noises as well. I will attempt to get this fixed. I am going to try other microphones, I'm going to try other solutions. I have no idea why everything just changed in the matter of a week. I cannot find any settings to change. So I apologise that the sound quality is way lower this week. Now as usual, I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff and some other poll related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about my Patreons, who are wonderful, wonderful people who help support me, especially in this time when YouTube is deleting some of my videos. Now, these are the Satanic Panic videos which people have been complaining about, because obviously we discuss certain matters in these videos which are considered a little more sensitive than the usual role-playing subjects. But these are subjects which are thrown at role-playing, so to defend our hobby, I have to mention them as well, but that means people can take down my videos or put in complaints about them, because I'm talking about those things. Now, the Patreons are wonderful people who help support this and keep me going when these videos are getting deleted and I'm feeling especially demoralised about this. So I'd like to thank them from the absolute bottom of my heart. Now, if you'd like to join them and help support the channel, and I sure wish you would, then there's a Patreon in the description down below, where there's offers like you can see these videos a week early, you can get access to a bunch of my writings, which I think is about 400 or 500 booklets now. All of these things are on offer. If you check out the Patreon, it'd be massively appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at RuneQuest 3rd edition. So, this is RuneQuest, which came out from Games Workshop, Avalon Hill and Chaosium in 1987. It's the 3rd edition, and it's the same 3rd edition which Avalon Hill and Chaosium had released in 1984. However, with new artwork, with some wonders by Jez Goodwin, John Blanche, the wonderful, wonderful artists at Games Workshop who did so much fantastic stuff with Judge Dredd, with Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, etc, etc. Some absolutely great stuff from them. And it's a really good looking book. As I said, it's a reprint of the rules from the Avalon Hill Chaosium one, because 1st edition RuneQuest had come out in 1978. With 2nd edition coming out in 1979, both from Chaosium. In 1984, 3rd edition came out from Avalon Hill, which led to a decoupling of the setting, because the 1st and 2nd edition were set in Glorantha, which Greg Stafford had created for his board game White Bear and Red Moon in 1975. And this decoupling led to a role-playing game more like Dungeons & Dragons. The way Dungeons & Dragons is a rule set, and then you get settings separately to it. So you get Dragonlance, you get the Forgotten Realms, you get Dark Sun, you get Planescape, you get wonderful settings like those. Well, RuneQuest came out as the rule set, which this is, and Glorantha became a separate thing, because the licensing for the rules was released to Avalon Hill, but Glorantha remained in control of Greg Stafford and Chaosium. Now, later on versions, we had repeat rules of the RuneQuest in 2006 by Mongoose. They had RuneQuest 2nd edition in 2010. The design mechanism brought out a 6th edition in 2012. And then the licenses all ended up back with Chaosium, back in 2018 when they brought out RuneQuest Role-Playing in Glorantha, which is way more like the 1st and 2nd edition where everything's combined. So, this is the UK release by Games Workshop, and this is the one I'm more personally familiar with, When I was 16, when it came out, I had my first job, so I had disposable income. And me and a friend were massive Games Workshop fans and role-playing fans. So we would go up to the Games Workshop store in Glasgow and spend a lot of that disposable income on Games Workshop stuff. So that's where I got my Judge Dredd role-playing game, my version of Call of Cthulhu from Games Workshop, Paranoia from Games Workshop, so many games that Games Workshop had brought in and reprinted for the UK market. Because when they'd originally been set up, that's what they were doing for Dungeons and Dragons. But when TSR UK got set up and Games Workshop wanted to publish other role-playing games, they licensed them and brought them in. So RuneQuest was one of these many games that we saw. And while I got Judge Dredd and Paranoia and Call of Cthulhu, as I said, my friend got RuneQuest and he got Stormbringer and so many others as well. We basically got everything they published. So I'm familiar with RuneQuest, although I've never actually owned it. And it's wonderful artwork, and it's a fairly detailed set of rules. But anyway, let's have a look at the back cover. So, RuneQuest. Now in hardback book format, RuneQuest Fantasy Roleplaying Adventure, one of the world's most acclaimed role-playing games, based on Chaosium's basic role-playing system, Games Workshop presents an up-to-date version of this realistic, detailed, and sophisticated system. This is the game which brought percentile-based skill systems to the forefront, allowing characters to develop unique patterns of skills and expertise. Each RuneQuest adventurer belongs to a definite culture and learns the crafts, trades, and skills of his forefathers. Each goes on to develop greater talents, including the riches of magic, as they explore an ancient world of dark adventure. Now, the darkness does sound a lot like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, a perilous world of dark adventure. This book contains 8 main sections. Introduction, in which the basic rules of role-playing are explained. Creating an adventure, in which the system for creating heroes you will play is detailed. Game system, a guide to the rules for playing the game, which provide its sophisticated pattern of play. Combat, the rules for handling combat, man-to-man or man-to-beast. Skills, details the varying skills and abilities each unique character may learn. The world, rules for developing the realism of the world around you. Now that's a bit dodgy, but we'll come to that as we reach that section. Creatures, varied and exciting creatures with detailed descriptions and complete stats, and magic, the 3 forms of magic that bring the fantastic into reality. Inside we can see there are lots of very nice artwork. We can see the Games Workshop teams involved. So we've got Brian Ansell, we've got artists Jez Goodwin, as we said, John Blanche, Colin Dixon, Nick Bibby, Dave Andrews, Ian Miller, Angus Fieldhouse. Many, many great artists there, and we will see lovely colour plates throughout, as well as some very detailed black and white art. Detailed contents page, and then we're into the introduction, which is your basic role-playing stuff. You know, what is a games master? What does the player do? Cooperation and competition, life and death. And then we've got what is RuneQuest? About runes, about quests. RuneQuest the game. Materials, you'll need dice and how to read the dice. Figures and game focus, whether you're using a battle board. And throughout the book, it's going to use the saga of Cormac the Pict, as it details him as we generate the character and we use him in sample things. So, we're then into creating an adventurer, introducing the adventurer sheet, creating an adventurer. Adventurer statistics, so we've got strength, constitution, size, intelligence, power, dexterity, appearance. Then we've got how to determine them, and we've got Cormac's saga, so which attributes he selects. And it details through his attributes, so he's got a strength of 17. Wow, what a start. Cormac is really strong. Con 9. Uh-oh, he's almost unhealthy. Size 12, an average guy. Intelligence 14, a bit above average. He could be clever or foolhardy. Power 12, average again, but not bad. Dex 8. Oops, Cormac is clumsy. Appearance 13, slightly more handsome than average. So when we go through attributes, we've got magic points, fatigue points, hit points, damage modifiers, strike ranks, and strike rank modifiers. Now, obviously, I'll go into way more detail on these. I'll do a rules breakdown video probably next week where we go through the entire system and see how it works. Anyway, we've got strike rank. spell strike rank modifiers. Then we've got skills and modifiers, and different categories. Different modifiers for different types of the categories. The weapons section, magical data, what equipment he's got. And as I said, some absolutely lovely colour plates. Previous experience, so what magic, skills, equipment he's got from there. We've got the game system, so how skills work, automatic successes, simple success rolls. Skill versus skill, so if you're doing opposed dice rolls. Characteristic rolls, critical successes, special successes, and a skill results table. Fumbles, resistance tables, lots and lots of tables to use. Not my favourite thing in a role-playing game. I have to admit, I don't like a game which has too many tables, but this does lead to an extra level of granularity and complexity to the system. So we've got skill experience rolls. Skill training, so various stuff involved in character advancement. Research, increasing characteristics. Time and movement. Hit locations, because in this game you don't just have a big pool of hit points, you do have hit points in different locations. But we'll come on to that more as we go through to the character sheet, because that breaks it down very, very well. I said, I adore this artwork. It's very much like WoW Fantasy Roleplay. The artists are obviously the same, and it's around the same time period. But this looks like a beastman. But I like the very withered head carried onto the neck, and I love this, what looks like a goblin with an iron jaw. Some fantastic stuff. The knights in the background are a bit bland and average, but they're greyed out. They're not the focus of the image at all. Permanent damage and death. Healing, including healing magic and natural healing. We've got fatigue, size equivalency table, and encumbrance. Then we're on to the combat section, so we've got melee rounds, strike ranks, improving weapon skills, melee activities, so you can attack, you can parry. We've got damage to parrying weapons, how to dodge, armor and hit point relation summary, results of combat, melee and parry weapons fumbles, missile weapon fumbles, natural weapon fumbles. There's a section there, removing an impaling weapon. So not only can you get hit by an arrow, but it can dig in and you can have to pull it out. Way more detail than you get hit by an arrow and it does 1d4 damage. Far more advanced system than Dungeons & Dragons was using. Got natural weapons. Including hitting, punching and kicking, and grappling, claws, fangs, and other natural weapons. We go through the missile weapons section. We've got armor. Then we're on to the skills, detailing them out. So boating, climbing, jumping, loads and loads, broken down into different sections. So we've got languages, we've got knowledge skills, so crafting and first aid, different types of lore skills, ship handling. We've got the magic skills there, conceal, sleight, devise, search, sneak, hide, stealth ones there. And then the world. And this was a section I kind of questioned, because a section called the world sounds like it should be telling you, if not setting out the world of Glorantha, but obviously they'd separated that off, teaching you as a games master how to be creating the world. But no, this is the rules section about how you're interacting with the world. So while combat tells you about how you take damage from somebody hitting you or a monster attacking you or whatever, this is falling damage, asphyxiation damage, poisons. So different ways the world affects the characters, rather than it being other monsters or characters that do it. I don't think the section is particularly well named. Got diseases, damage to inanimate objects. A very nice piece of art there with a bunch of chaos creatures and goblins or orcs attacking. Really like it. Very, very bright. Then the creature section. So we've got the rules about what type of creatures there are. And this picture is something very like Ithalid. We see it later on. And these weird pumpkin-headed creatures, which also we'll see. So we've got chaotic features for chaotic creatures, creatures as adventurers, the creatures themselves. So we've got Allosauruses, bears, brew, dragons, ducks, and some of the creatures have different types within them. Elementals, we've got dwarves, and that's one of the things I like as well. Everything's got a Latin name to it to make it more scientific. So as we carry on through, we've got elves, Dendrosapiens. We've got ghosts, giants, Homo colossus. Gorp, Chaos amorphous, griffins. Halflings, Homo minutum. Horses, the Jacko bear, as I said, a bear with a jack-o'-lantern head. Really, really interesting, and I love that picture. It does seem kind of grotesque. Got lions, rock lizards, ogres, orcs. I do like that it's Orcanthropus piltdowni. So, like Piltdown Man, I'm guessing they're getting it from. We've got skeletons. Again, lovely art. Spell spirits, cave trolls, dark trolls, unicorns, the walktibus, these sort of squid-headed creatures. Werewolves, wolves, worms, wyverns. Then we're on to the magic section, where it details the different types. So we've got the shaman, the priest, the sorcerer. And we've got other information about magic, more lovely artwork, the spirit plane, the god plane, spirit combat, going through all that, how spells work, magic points summary, types of spells, memorizing them, changing your memorized spells, casting spells during melee. Then we've got the broken down into the individual sections. So we've got the spirit magic section, going through all the ways it differs, and then a bunch of spells. So we've got Befuddle and Counter Magic and Detect Substance. Divine Magic, talking about that, leaving the religion, requires to become initiated into religions, learning and using spells. And then we've got some different religions. And then the spells, so Absorption, Berserk, Fear. Then we've got sorcery, again detailing, how to become a sorcerer student, how to use sorcery, the different types of spell use for it, and then some spells. So what do we got here? Damage resistance, mystic vision, neutralize magic. Then we've got the character sheet. We're really getting to the back here. It has to be pointed out without any background in it, just being rules. This is only 98 pages long, including the covers. It's a very, very short book. But it's kind of the size of a bunch of books which Games Workshop brought out at that time. I've got the Judge Dredd Companion, which is about the same thickness. The same as a sort of annual you would get at Christmas when you were a young kid, or at least in the UK. They're a character sheet, so it's very spreadsheet-like, everything's broken down, but I do like elements like the characteristics. You've got the current and the original, so you can see how your character's improved. Lots of spaces for different weapons, and the layout, so how many hit points you've got and how your armor is, because obviously in Dungeons and Dragons, if you're wearing a helmet, it improves your armor class, so you become more difficult to damage. But in RuneQuest, the armor will only work if you're hit in the head. Makes a lot of sense. A helmet will not help you if somebody's slashing for your arms or legs. Fantastic stuff. We've got the attribute tallies here, so magic points, fatigue points, and hit points. A blank page for notes, and the back cover. And I like it. It's a very detailed system. As I said, we'll go into a rules breakdown where we go into it in detail and go through exactly how it works. But from just a quick glance, you can see that it's a far more complex and far more involved system than Dungeons and Dragons. And I can see why that would be a lot of fun. Again, I don't particularly like loads of tables to look up. I much prefer a rule system you can keep in your head. But I do recognise that they add a lot to a system. We've got stuff like Rollmaster, which is just lots and lots of tables, but people swear by the critical hits and how much fun that game can be. And I can see where it would have similar effects in this game. So that was RuneQuest 3rd edition. And that won the poll this week with a massive 41% of the vote. Which, given that the second option in it, Cult, came in on a 28%, just shows how large that lead was. And it was like that from the first day. There was never a doubt it was going to be RuneQuest. Cult did rally slightly because in the early parts of the poll, RuneQuest was at 50% or over of the vote. It was that dominating a lead. Now way back behind is Realms of Sorcery for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay on 17%, and World Book 15 Spirit West for Rifts, which is sad because I love me some Rifts. We'll get one of those books in again soon. We'll try it because there's a load on my shelf and they are all brilliant. Now as usual, that poll's wiped out and we're going back to a Retro Adventures poll. And this time we've got a lot of adventures because 3 of the options have 2 adventures in them each. So first of all, we've got Classic Adventures, which contains the politics of contraband and the abduction of Crying Dawn's singer. So 2 classic Star Wars adventures bundled in a book together. I've got a lot of these Classic Adventures books, but this is the only one with only 2. There's far more in the later ones, which we will get around to in the fullness of time. Next up, we've got The Perfect Warrior for the Street Fighter RPG. It came out in 1995. Now, I've covered some Street Fighter stuff in the last couple of years, and it was very, very successful. People were really interested in seeing it. And there was only ever 1 adventure published, so it'd be lovely to cover it. After that, we've got Nightwalker the Villy Affair for Millennium's End. Now, I keep going on about Millennium's End, one of my favourite RPGs, such a brilliant idea, so good concepts in it, and these are brilliant adventures. I've run them and had a whole load of fun with them. But they never do very well in the polls. But definitely consider them. Techno-thriller stuff, fantastic stuff. And finally we've got Fire and Blood for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And again, this is 2 adventures. This is Fire in the Mountains and Blood in Darkness, the first 2 parts of the Doomstones campaign. So now we've covered all of the Enemy Within campaign, there was another classic campaign for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the Doomstones. Now I've run this campaign and I had a load of fun doing it. And this is the Hogshead compilation of the first 2 parts. Obviously the next 2 parts come out, and then although there was never a finale written when it originally came out as single books, Hogshead did write a final part. So if we get to do it, we'll be able to cover all 5 parts of this campaign. So the choice is in your hands. Well, what else have I been up to? Well, over on DriveThruRPG, I've been releasing some booklets. As usual, if you check them out, the link down below. It'd be very much appreciated. And over on RPGgamer.org, well, Skeleton Crew's about to come to an end, so I'm filling out stats for that. And we've been covering the first half of the 2nd season of Young Jedi Adventures. And after that, I think I'm going to be going on to the old Dark Horse Comics Legacy series, set hundreds of years after the movies. So lots of Star Wars stuff. If you like the Star Wars D6 system, check us out on rpggamer.org. But anyway, as usual, I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.